Sorry about that, folks. My bad. Welcome back. Wednesday night, hump day, baby. Hey, I guess, yeah, it still count as hump day for me. But sorry about that, folks. I thought my camera was on, but then it got switched off. But yeah, today we're gonna go into the rest of the FF7 Revelation interview with automation, and then we're gonna go back to Hollow Bastion for and the space paranoid. So that's the final world before we go to Twilight Town again and go to the world that never was. So let's get to this interview. There we go. All right, we're all set. All right, beautiful. What I'm gonna do is bring my yeah, right there. Okay, Final Fantasy VII Revelation director Naoki Hamaguchi addresses rumors about the grand finale, Advent Children ties, and possible DLC. And this is the second part of this interview by Automation West, or Tamon West. Okay, Square Enix, blah blah. Okay, we read this. See, talked about at length about his opinions on steaming culture. Touch on some rumors circling about the game's series finale. We also get to hear about possible DLC and what players can expect from the future of the franchise. So let's dive right into this. We need to embrace the impending crisis and take responsibility as creators. Right after the grand reveal of Final Fantasy VII Revelation at Summer Games Fest 2026, you met up with Maximilian Dude at his house for an interview. How did that happen? Hamaguchi. He is a fan of FF7. I said friend. It's kind of true though. He attended all the media influencers hands-on events for FF7 remake and rebirth so far, which is how we got connected. When he saw the announcement, he immediately reached out to me, and that's how the opportunity for an interview came about. All right, Max, having the director of the FF7 remake come to your house, that's pretty sick, man. I mean, we saw it firsthand. That's quite surprising. Thanks to him, it ended up becoming a hot topic in North America. They were like, it's so funny witnessing and Maximilian Dude's room, the same room we see every time we watch his videos. I'm really amazed by how much influence he has. Yeah, I may always not. I like Max. I really do. I may not always like what he has to say or agree with what he has to say, but overall, he's a good dude who loves Final Fantasy, and he does have some good points. Good points a lot of times. I may not agree with everything, but still, he's a cool dude. I like Max a lot. On the flip side, I imagine there are also streamers who might have felt a bit jealous or sad about not getting the same opportunity. We have no plans to work with just one influencer. Call them only our only official partner. I'm sure that the influencer wouldn't want that either. Rather, I'm personally very happy to maintain good relationships with many different people over the long run. So if the chance arises, we might collaborate with those streamers in the future. I don't know, guys. You think I got a shot? I mean, I'm gonna go with the hope I have a shot. I may not have a shot, but hey, you know what? Crazier things have happened. All right. Speaking of influencers, in a recent interview with 4Gamer, you said with RPGs like Final Fantasies, we need to be very wary of the possibilities that players might be satisfied just by watching live playthroughs. I'm not trying to be dismissive of playthroughs, but I'm saying that we need to take that as a challenge and incorporate game elements that will motivate players to actually play the games themselves. That's quite an interesting comment, and it led to a lot of discussion about the good and bad side of streaming games. That's interesting. I didn't think. Yeah, things got quite heated. Laughs. It's kind of like the topic eventually took a life of its own. I'm pretty sure that you already said what you intended to say in the game for gamer interview. Could you please clarify once again in case there are any misunderstandings due to the language barrier? Personally, I don't view the fact that my comment became the subject of debate as a negative thing. In fact, I saw it as healthy discussion. As a creator, I sometimes get the impression that streaming culture doesn't mix well well with narrative driven works, especially the kind of RPGs we create. That is partly true. I mean, Final Fantasy X is that's when I really started to get like viewers and more followers. And Final Fantasy X was my most successful stream. Then to be honest with you guys, yeah, I mean, maybe I'm new to this whole thing, so it's just like I don't know what works and what doesn't. I mean, but I know for a fact 10 worked because 10 is a beloved Final Fantasy slash game. So, yeah, that being said, not trying to say that RPG and JRPGs will decline simply because people can't get satisfied, could get satisfied by just watching live streams. This applies to everything in the world. It's not specifically limited to just entertainment. I believe that when the environment changes, the things that survive should also change and adapt. That's very true. In that sense, it's important to change and adapt to the suit the current era. While you are holding on to your original appeal. Yes, I love that answer. In other words, even if the environment changes, we should aim to adapt to the times while maintaining our fan base, which they absolutely do. When it comes to RPG, simply trying to the copy paste conventions isn't enough. That's why I felt that as creators, we must keep on taking new challenges to preserve our fan base, ensure RPGs will keep being a genre that's supported for the next 20 or 30 years, well, even beyond that. That is a very solid answer there by Hamaguchi. Very solid. So it's a word of caution to yourself as a creator, or perhaps an impending sense of crisis. That's what, as creators, we need to embrace that sense of crisis, take responsibility for what we've done, create our works with care. Final Fantasy VII Revelation is not a definite answer to all those issues, nor are we fully satisfied with it yet. However, looking at Final Fantasy VII Revelation as a single experience, we have incorporated a lot of side content where elements ranging from narrative to strategies will change based on the player's choices. Ooh, okay, that's what I like to hear. Even if we are Even if they are watching a live stream, we wanted to attempt things that would make the player think, oh, if this was me, I'd like to do this differently. And that's the kind of sentiment I want to convey. Now, I'm not going to put words in Hamaguchi's now, but I think this is saying that he not only wants, he has no problem with people watching live streams, but with the gameplay systems, the narratives, and the strategies, and the side content delivering that kind of stuff, he wants to get those players that are watching the live stream also play the game. I mean, I've seen live streams of streamers, and that got me interested in certain games that I wanted to play. So, very solid answers by Hamaguchi. Yeah, I know what I was getting at with my FF10 statement. I know RPGs aren't the most famous or most popular on streaming, then, but something like Final Fantasy X was very successful for me in my stage of my streaming career. And I would think Final Fantasy VII Remake would be the ticket there. But I need to try new things as a creator as well. I need to branch out. I mean, that's what I plan to do in future streams. But anyhow, let's get back into this. Since the side quest and revelations will have branching outcomes based on players' choices, I understand its attempt to reconcile streaming culture and the user experience by creating an experience that will change, deepening on the player. Hamaguchi, exactly. To begin with, the concept for FF7 Revelation is that it's the final installment in the trilogy. So we wanted each of the characters to have their own beliefs, resolve, and feelings as they head towards the story's conclusion. On top of that, we felt it'd be better that the emotional journey were different for each character, for each player. Kind of like I want Visit to take on this challenge with this kind of mindset, or I want my cloud to take on this challenge with that kind of mindset. We wanted each player to experience these feelings in their own way. All right. Being a game with so many famous and iconic characters, each of whom have different levels of emotional attachment to, it felt that homogenizing players' feelings towards the counters wouldn't make for a compelling game and experience. So we aim for game design where players' choices within the game would effectively align with those feelings. If there's one thing Square Enix is good at with all their studios, especially with Final Fantasy, is that they know how to tie narrative, gameplay, emotions, and player choice all in one cohesive, compelling package. And I think they're going to nail it here too. And it'll be our own experience, which I'm pretty interested to hear and experience. An overarching Final Fantasy VII universe, and many of our previous interviews, when asked about the game's ending, you replied with something along the lines, I want to make players feel it was worth playing through the whole series. This made some users theorize that the FF7 trilogy will conclude with a happy ending. Would this be an accurate interpretation? Before we get into that. I've been given the same answer each time about the ending, but since people only focus on the things they want to hear, the truth rarely gets found. Ain't that the truth, man? That is the truth, for better or for worse. To clarify once again, I never told any media outlet about the kind of ending Revelation will have. It's been 30 years since the original Final Fantasy. Excuse And 10 years since we began developing the remake series, many fans have stuck with us for a really long time. And we have got enormous support from the development team as well. I miss all that. Excuse me, I have walked alongside the FF7 remake franchise. I'm doing my best to deliver a game that will make people glad they were involved in it. While I said that I'm confident we'll be able to achieve that, I never revealed how the ending will actually turn out. Yeah, for someone like me who dives into this stuff and writes articles and does videos like this, I can tell you he has not said anything about how the ending's going to unfold. And even Katarze said that the ending would be something that would honor the original, yet satisfy the new plot elements. Not in those words, of course. So you're choosing to stay silent about the ending. Why wouldn't he stay silent about the ending? Hamaguchi. It's more that I don't want people to focus on just the ending. I'm aiming to create a game that will make people feel I'm glad they make the Final Fantasy remake series. I'm glad to be able to see FF7 remake series through the end where they look back on the whole trilogy. The ending might be fully faithful to the original. It might end up being something completely different. Or perhaps it might go in a direction that no one would imagine in the first place. I like everyone to experience this for themselves. And that's fair, and I want to experience for myself. But they did say it would honor the original game, but that's coming from Katase, not Hamaguchi. I'd like to ask you about another rumor. In a past interview about Final Fantasy Advent Children, you mentioned that the definite ending of Final Fantasy VII series could lead into Advent Children. Mm, Fans are now speculating that we might get the same ending as the original game. Hamaguchi, I remember producer Kurtarze and I said something along those lines in an interview back, but since that interview was translated, there is a possibility that the exact nuance didn't get across. On the other hand, as developers, we are not denying the possibility of a FF7 when AC ended. The concept of the remake series is that we're creating a new overarching universe that encompasses the lore of many various spin-offs we created so far. Not just Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, but also Dirge of Cerberus, Crisis Core. We are not denying the possibility of the ending tying in of Advent Children, but rather saying that FF7 Advent Children has been incorporated into the overarching FF7 remake series, including the ending. However, I won't comment on whether the ending is positioned to lead into it. With everything, and I'm gonna with everything that they have presented to us, I feel like they're going to go in the opposite direction of Advent Children. They will be a different Advent Children with the same themes, but look, I like Advent Children. I mean, I thought the plot was serviceable, but the themes and the message are what makes it strong, besides the choreography and the combat. I love that final fight between Cloud and Sephiroth. It is peak, so peak. But yeah, I'm not. I think we may see elements of Advent Children in Revelation. I mean, one thing about geostigma, if someone was miserable and had negative feelings, then they could be inflicted with geostigma. I don't know. We could have a geostigma pandemic, Nick, in FF7 Revelation. I mean, Cloud could get it in Medeal and go into the live stream sequence where he has his revelation is where he would be cured of that. I mean, the live stream does heal geostigma, not to get too into spoilers here. I don't know. I'm very interested to see what they are going for, but I feel like with everything that's happened, I feel like they're going towards another uh, future where we're not getting the exact grim reality of Advent Children, but something different. Okay, these kind of rumors lead fans to speculate about possible DLC. Will you be considering any DLC for the game? I feel at this point, both media and the fan community expecting the DLC to come. Wait a minute. I think I read this yesterday. You know what? I'm gonna kind of skip this. Now that we talk about the possibility of a DLC, I apologize for the main question, but I do wonder if the game is going to end on a cliffhanger with the series story concluding in the DLC. Yeah, this is Hamaguchi. We already covered this in another interview in the last video, so we do know it's going to conclude in the main game, and they are serious about ending concluding the series with FF7 Revelation, and they're proceeding with that development with that goal in mind. I'm just paraphrasing because we already went through this. And if they do release DLC, it's pretty much going to be focused on a specific character that depicts their untold story. Example of that would be Yuffie with the FF7 R episode intermission. And if there's enough demand, they will make DLC. That is the kind of thing that they will likely attempt to do. So, yeah, I am. Yeah, I just paraphrased that so we can move. Recently, it was announced that Crisis Core moving towards the future of Final Fantasy VII together with fans. Recently, it was announced that Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis will be shutting down. As a fan, I'm a bit worried that the FF7 franchise might come to an end with the release of FF7 Revelation. What are your thoughts on that? Hamaguchi. Right now, we're focusing on finishing the development of FF7 Revelation, but we haven't thought about what will happen after. However, once the game is out, we'll be observing everyone's reactions and reviews. So if there is significant demand, and if we as creators are able to come up with a fresh, compelling answer to that, we might consider doing something down the line. On the other hand, they go too far ahead is definitely not a good thing for FF7 Revelation. So we are solely focused on finishing up its development for the time being. I believe that FF7 Revelation will shape up to be a better game if we don't let ourselves think about other stuff. So after the series comes to its conclusions, I hope both we, the creators, and the fans can move towards the future together. Think about what comes next. I like how he's locked in to the development of FF7 Revelations completion. And once the game is out, and if there's significant demand, I might consider creating something down the line. But they don't want to think too far ahead because they're trying to finish what will probably be the game of the century, or the next two or several centuries. I know I'm exaggerating big time, but yeah. So once the series comes to the conclusion, they'll find a way to move forward with it. Honestly, guys, I'm at the point where it's like, let's let FF7 Revelation and the trilogy and the universe itself just take a rest. And if we want to develop more stuff in the future, let's do that. But as much as I love this universe with what they're doing with this universe with the remake trilogy, love the remake trilogy, love the OG, but at the same time, it's like I'm ready for a new Final Fantasy. I'm ready for new stuff. But if they come back to FF7 in the future, you best believe I'll be covering it. DLCs, books, whatever they come up with in the future. Lastly, can you tell us about the current development status and your plans moving forward? We will be steadily unveiling new information targeting a specific time frame. We are also preparing for a way for players and media to try out the game as various events. I think you could probably imagine with events I'm talking about which events I'm talking about. So I expect a bunch of new information from us there. And from that point on, we'll be unveiling new information pretty much without stopping. So please look forward to it. Can't wait to try out the hands-on demo. Thank you for your time. So that's it, y'all. That's it. So yeah, really good interview. The guy, really good. Solid. Got a lot of information on the ending. I'm glad they're I'm glad they're locked into this thing. I want to see this thing to its conclusion. But well, you heard the man. More information, so that means more breakdowns and stuff. So I'm excited, man. I am super excited. I want to try to get to some of these events to play the demo hands on. I would love to do that for not only for myself but you guys as well. But all right, so time to get into Kingdom Hearts. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Thanks for watching. Chin, love, always appreciate and love the support. And I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Peace.
It's been a long day without you.